Hello, I'm Gail and this is my brother Torben. Today we are going to present soft tissue anatomy.
I'm going to introduce the types of tissues in the human body.
Then I'll talk about the organ systems.
And I will finish by describing the major muscles.
We will not be discussing the skeletal, endocrine, or reproductive systems.
I'm going to describe 5 major types of tissues: muscle, connective, fat, skin, and nerve tissues. Muscle tissue is made of cells which contract when stimulated by signals from neurons. There are 3 types of muscle tissue: striated, cardiac, and smooth. Striated muscles are consciously controlled and they are what you usually move. Cardiac muscle is found in the heart. Smooth muscles move food through the digestive system and control the size of arteries and veins. Both cardiac and smooth muscles are not under conscious control. Connective tissue is made of cells in a net of proteins. Fat tissue is made of cells called adipocytes. These cells store fat molecules. Skin tissue is made of 2 layers. The epidermis is composed of dead cells, and the dermis contains living cells. Nerve tissue is composed of cells called neurons. These cells both send motor signals and receive sensory signals.
The nervous system is divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The brain and the spinal cord form the central nervous system. The brain has 2 hemispheres separated by the longitudinal fissure. The cerebrum has several lobes. The frontal lobes is responsible for reasoning and intellect. Just posterior is the parietal lobe, responsible for speech and reading. Inferior to the frontal and parietal lobes is the temporal lobe, which is responsible for hearing, taste, and smell. Just posterior of the temporal lobe is the occipital lobe, which is responsible for visual interpretation. The cerebellum is responsible for motor functions. The brain is connected to the spinal cord by the medulla. The peripheral nerves system is formed by the spinal and peripheral nerves which extend outwards to the extremities. They are responsible for sensory and motor functions. The cardiovascular system is composed of the heart. Arteries, veins, and capillaries. The heart has 4 chambers: the right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, and left ventricle. Oxygen-poor blood comes in through both the superior and inferior vena cava. The blood is pumped through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs. In the lungs, blood is oxygenated and then it comes back to the heart through the pulmonary veins. The oxygenated blood is pumped to the rest of the body through the aortic arch and the descending aorta. Oxygen-rich blood is pumped through the arteries. These get smaller and become capillaries in the blood's tissues. The blood gives up its oxygen and picks up waste products from the tissues, then returns to the heart through the veins. Now to describe organs which clean the blood. The spleen removes dead red blood cells and pathogens from the blood. The urinary system. The urinary system is composed of the kidneys, ureters, bladder, and the urethra. Waste-laden blood enters the kidneys where it is filtered. The ureters transport the waste, now called urine, to the bladder where it is stored until convenient for it to exit the body through the urethra. Now for the respiratory system. The diaphragm contracts, increasing the size of the chest cavity when inhaling. Air enters the nasal cavity. and it goes through the larynx, which is responsible for making the sounds of speech. The air then goes to the trachea, which into the bronchi, which lead to the lungs. In the lungs, air enters small sacs with blood vessels called alveoli. The oxygen from the air diffuses through the walls of the alveoli into the blood vessels, while the blood releases carbon dioxide into the lungs. Then the diaphragm relaxes to exhale. Next, for the digestive system, which is composed of the alimentary canal and the accessory organs. Food in the mouth is ground down by teeth and lubricated by saliva, which also begins the digestion of starches. Saliva is produced by the salivary glands. After the food is swallowed, it enters the esophagus, which leads to the stomach. In the stomach, the food is broken down by strong acids and mechanical action into chyme, which enters the small intestine through the duodenum. The gallbladder. More digestive juices are added as the chyme enters the small intestine through the duodenum. The gallbladder stores and delivers bile to the duodenum, needed for the digestion of certain fats. Pancreas produces enzymes that break down carbohydrates and proteins, and also produces electrolytes which neutralize the stomach acid to create an alkaline environment in the intestines. In addition, the pancreas makes insulin, which regulates sugar metabolism throughout the body. Once in the small intestine, the chyme is digested and nutritional content is absorbed. Unabsorbed matter continues through the large intestine, which removes water. The remaining matter is prepared and held for excretion. The liver serves as a filter and stores digested nutrients, and also produces the bile delivered to the duodenum by the gallbladder.
Now I will describe major voluntary muscles. A muscle's origins are where it's anchored directly to stationary bones, usually proximal to the muscle's action. A muscle's insertion is where the muscle attaches to a distal bone, which it moves. Tendons or ligaments made of connective tissue attach this muscle to the bone at the insertion. Some muscles are named for their origin and insertion points. For example, the sternocleidomastoids. Are two muscles on the anterior side of the neck. They get their name because they originate at the sternum and the clavicle, and their insertion is on the mastoid. Some muscles are named for their shape. The deltoids are the large muscles on the shoulders. They are named deltoids because they are triangular in shape. Other muscles are named for the position and size. The pectoralis major, commonly called pecs, is one of two large muscles on the chest. Its name pectoralis major means the larger muscle of the chest. Some muscles are named for their number of origins. Distal to the deltoids on the arm are the biceps brachii, better known as biceps. Brachii identifies these as arm muscles. The name biceps refers to the fact that this muscle has two origins and literally means two heads. There's yet another way of naming muscles by the position and direction of their grain. Inferior to the pectoralis major is the external oblique, named for being towards the outside with its grain at an angle. Just medial to the external oblique is the rectus abdominis. This means the straightened muscle of the abdomen. These muscles are better known as abs, and when they are visibly obvious, they are sometimes called a person's six packs. Continuing down the leg, you have the quadriceps muscles. Quadriceps have four separate origins on the femur, and the name literally means four heads. Some muscles are named for their function, like the sartorius muscle on the upper leg. This muscle rotates the upper leg outward, as you do when you sit tailor style. And sartorius muscle literally means tailor's muscle. Some muscles are named just for their position, like the tibialis anterior on the lower leg, so named because it is on the front of the tibial bone. Many more muscles are visible on the posterior view.
At least with the spinal cord back.
The trapezius is a pair of large muscles on the upper back. They are named trapezium because both together form a trapezoid shape. On the upper arm are the triceps. These muscles are named for their three origins. And triceps literally means three heads. The extensor digitorum muscles are on the lower arm. Their name means they extend the fingers.
Like this.
Inferior to the trapezius are the latissimus dorsi, meaning the widest back muscle. Inferior to the latissimus dorsi are the gluteus maximus, the large muscles of the buttocks. On the back of the leg are the biceps femoris. Femoris means leg, and like the arm's biceps, it's literally named two heads for its double origin. We finish with a muscle name for both its shape and location. On the lower leg, the gastrocnemius is named for its resemblance to a pair of bellies. But this muscle is better known as the calf muscle.
What?
The calf muscle.
Thank you, Mom, for being our human health board.
Oh, ow, my brain! Don't bruise the brain.
There.
And thank you for watching.
I
You
think
just need
that's
to
a
go
take.
That's a
You could have damaged the brain.